Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm back, man, with another video of my perspective. And I wanted to talk about the war on the block, but I'm calling it the war. And so, how Redman and Joey started a war with the other kids on the block. I want to say they started the war due to selling heroin. Cause that was their thing, but they would sell weed too, and a little bit of coke. But yeah, I want to talk about that. And I'll never forget Radman. I was sitting on the stoop and I was hearing him, having a fissy fit, or fussy fit, whatever you want to call it. He having a fit. And he was talking about, he was saying, pacing back and forth, like, y'all niggas fucking my bitch, this and that, and the third, boom, boom, boom. So I'm thinking, yo, somebody fucking your bitch, dude. You gotta think about the men you hang around. You know what I'm saying? Because one of them was stabbing you behind your back. And so I'll never forget, he used to hang with this guy, not too far from like the backyard alleyway where I got robbed at, but his house was like next door to it, or 2 doors down from the backyard. But this guy, he was a big guy, dude. This guy was big, dude. And he would walk around with a pit bull and shit. And he would hang around him. He kind of favored Ricky Waters, that played for the 49ers back in the day, won the Super Bowl and shit. So, yeah, he kind of favored him. He was a big guy, though. Good-looking guy. But he would always he would have a pit bull and shit. And he dated a young lady that rented the house and stuff like that. But Redman used to go in the man's house and shit, eat his food, bang his girl in there, and lay up with the dude. So I'm thinking, like, one of his boys was laying his chick. And so I don't know what started that war, but I want to say it led me to getting robbed. Kind of led to me getting robbed a bit. I wound up in the alleyway, due to the hype of money or whatever. Getting that weight I was trying to get to, and got hemmed up in the war. Between them and the dudes on the block around the corner. But so I was saying, down the line, Redman got charged for murder. He supposedly killed somebody, down the line. But I want to say, he started that war and he couldn't get out of it. I want to say why, because he kept putting drugs on the street. He was still in that war. Couldn't get out of that war. That war got bigger. So it led to him, he wound up murdering somebody. Got somebody murdered. He got caught up. But I was thinking about it. I want to say that's what led to him going to jail. He couldn't get out that war. He couldn't get out of it because he kept putting drugs on the street, and it led to him, killing somebody. I wanted to say that. I wanted to talk about that. But I never forget. I heard about that when my cousin. I don't know if it was Smacky or somebody or Sharina called me, and told me about it, And so, I want to say it was kind of like a burden off my shoulder a bit. Because he was probably after me and shit, trying to finish the job or whatever, trying to chase me off, out of the city and shit. And but you know, I stayed there. I stayed in Philly for. After that happened, I stayed in Philly for about 10 years. Stayed in Philly for about 10 years, you know, until, you know, I start moving around and shit, you know. Things start moving, I start moving around, traveling and stuff like that. But yeah, man, yeah, I wanted to say that. That's, you know, one of the things I want to talk about in this story. But yeah, again, you know, I haven't been telling nobody, but saying, you know, please subscribe to my channel if you can, you know, or hit the like button so you can get, you know, so you can see more channels, you know, more of me, you know, speaking about this situation. But yeah, okay, I'm done. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.